And welcome to Community Viewpoint. Good morning. Yes, we tape actually in the morning sometimes. I'm JohnPawlak, your host for this segment. And this is a special voting segment because November 3rd is coming up rather quickly. And as you can see, we have Sam Merlino with us, our county clerk. And Sam will be answering some questions that we have about our voting. So let's begin with what I've done. I've gone to the Nye County website for the county clerk to find out about elections for myself, and it's all in black and white and basically blue and green. You could do that yourself, or you can watch the show, which what you're doing right now. And a simple sentence from the website says, it'll say, due to the passage of AB 4, all active registered voters in Nye County will receive a mail ballot for the November 3rd, 2020 general election, but all votes will have the option of voting in person at the polls on touchscreen voting machines. So, as I welcome Sam, our clerk for Nye County, I'm going to be asking her, how do we vote by mail? How do we vote by early? And also on election day. Let's begin with voting by mail. So good morning, Sam, and let's begin with that. How do we do it by mail?
Okay, well, good morning. Um, as John stated, in the next couple of weeks, you should be receiving a ballot in the mail. And what you can do is you can vote that ballot, be sure you sign the back of the envelope, and then you can either return it through the US Postal Service, you can drop it off in either clerk's office during any open business hours, or you can drop it off at your polling location on election day or during early voting. So it's that simple if you elect to vote that ballot.
On the notes that I have here, it says, yeah, once again, it says, don't forget to sign the outer envelope. And number 4, mail it right away. No postage necessary. Mail it right away, because if you leave it sit, you'll forget about it. And then, well, don't blame me because I told you so, right?
And if I can add something to that, if you don't sign it, it's rejected, even though we'll send you a notice letting you know that we need your signature. And you have a certain amount of time to cure that and let us know that that is your ballot and provide ID and everything else. But one other quick thing on these particular envelopes, there's a tab over your signature. I know in the primary election, many people were uncomfortable signing that envelope and having it go through the mail, but our envelopes are different. There's a tab over your signature, so it cannot be seen by the general public or the post office. We tear it off as soon as we receive your ballot.
Oh,
So
interesting.
hopefully that makes everybody a little more
Oh,
comfortable.
thank you for that. Okay, number 2, voting early, which is October 17th through the 30th. Now, we're going to uh, be telling you where all the polling places in Pahrump are, so get out your pencil and paper. So, Sam, where's our polling places in Pahrump?
Bob Roode Community Center is very easy. We try to keep it easy so that everybody knows where to go. It's a great venue. We wish there was a little more parking, but
Hmm.
right now, early voting and election day is all at the Bob Roode Community Center. And I don't know if you want me to expand on what you can do there. If you would like to drop off your mail ballot at that location during early voting or on election day, you can do that. Or you can surrender your ballot and you can vote on the touchscreen voting
Hmm.
machines. So there are options for everyone. And even if you don't have that mail ballot, as long as you have not voted it, you will sign an affirmation at the polling location, letting us know that, yes, I have my ballot, but no, I'm not going to vote it. I want to vote at the polls. And we will allow you to vote at the polls. But what I want to caution everyone about is that because of COVID, we have to maintain the social distancing at the polls. So check-in is going to take longer. We're going to have more voting machines on during early voting, but less on election day, so we can keep the voters spread out. So the lines could be very long. You're going to be waiting 6 feet apart. Check-in is going to be slower. So you have that option. If you walk in, you look at the lines, they're too long, hand us your voted ballot, and then you don't have to wait in line.
Right.
So there's just options for everybody.
Now, talking about options, there may be some individuals that either will not be wearing their masks or they will be wearing them improperly. Have you made any allowances for that?
Well, although we are requiring masks at the polling location, we can't force anyone to wear a mask. So what we will do with those voters who choose not to is we will actually set aside a couple of machines that are further apart from the others for those who don't feel they should wear a mask. And either way, we will not disenfranchise any. We will accept them. We will allow everybody to vote. But another thing is we're going to be sanitizing in between voters too. Every time a voter votes, we're going to wipe down the screens. Um, all workers will be required to wear masks. So we're going to take as many precautions as possible.
The wisdom of Solomon. Very good. Yes. So that's voting early. Oh, the times, please.
Oh, okay. The early voting times are 10 to 6.
That's it.
And right. It gives us time to get set up and take down. Those are usually pretty good times for most of the public. Starts on Saturday the 17th. So we're open Saturday the 17th and Saturday the 24th. And then, of course, Monday through Friday from 10 to 6 for those 2 week period before the election.
All right. Very good. The last one is voting on Election Day, November 3rd. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, before we start that, let me ask you if there's a long line at 7 o'clock, can we extend that or no?
Yes, what the law states is if there are individual or voters actually waiting in line when the polls close at 7, we have to allow those voters to vote. So if we have 200 people waiting in line and they're snaked around the building, we have to allow all those voters to vote before we can close.
Oh, excellent.
That though.
No, so yeah, don't try to get there late, the last minute, please. So what about voting at the clerk's office as we've been able to do in the past? That's changed.
Well, in the primary, because it was only all mail-in, we allowed you to vote at the clerk's office in Pahrump. We didn't have a separate polling location. So for this election, you will not be able to vote in the Pahrump clerk's office. You can only go to the Bob Rood. But that's not to say you can't drop your voted ballot off in the clerk's office at any time we are open. There's a difference. So basically, we have a drop box for your voted ballot in the Pahrump clerk's office. But if you want to vote on the voting machines, you will have to appear at the Bob Rood Community Center during early voting or on election day.
Oh.
And then in Tonopah, we have early voting in the office. And the only reason I'm mentioning other polling locations is that we have had individuals from Pahrump who have been in Round Mountain on election day. Vice versa, people in Tonopah have been in Pahrump on election day. So we want to be sure everybody knows that you can go to either early voting site to vote, no matter where you live in the county, no matter where your precinct is. So if you're clear at the other end of the county, call the clerk's office. We'll tell you where to go to vote, where it's closest to you.
Very good. So we're going to be expecting some literature from you. Well, the mail-in ballots will be coming within a couple of weeks. What we've received in the past, probably 6 weeks already, is important information on the general election from the Nevada Secretary of State. This is good literature, and it's very accurate. We've also received some literature from the U.S. Postal Service, and not to denigrate them or anything, but please disregard this. It's incorrect for our state. Okay, so please disregard that without degrading them at all. And then it was just something that just doesn't work in the state of Nevada at this time. So if we want to go through the motions again, we have voting by mail, which is starting in a couple of weeks. We'll get the sample ballot first. The sample ballot's coming first. And then after we find out what we're doing, then we'll receive the regular ballot. And then after that, go ahead.
They might come right about the same time. We don't have any control over that,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately, even though everything is scheduled to go out in the next week. But I want to encourage everyone, as soon as you receive your ballot, if you choose to vote the mail ballot, get it in as soon as possible, because that AB4 allows us to start processing those ballots 15 days ahead of time instead of what is the norm, which is 4 days ahead of time. So because of the volume of ballots, the earlier you get them in, the better. We can get those counted, processed, scanned, even though we can't release any results until election night. As a matter of fact, we can't accumulate those results until election night, but we can scan and get them into the system up to 15 days prior to the election. So the sooner the better to get those ballots in.
When will you cut off the date for receiving the ballots?
You can drop off your ballot up until 7 p.m. on election day.
Okay.
Has to be postmarked on election day and received within 7 days after the election for us to count it.
So the election here may not be over for another week after the election.
That's correct.
The
So
numbers.
in our case, it might not make that much difference. We might get 100 after election day, but when you look at Clark and Washoe, there could be hundreds of ballots that come in after election day. So there are many races we won't have results on until after the election.
All right, then. So we have all the facts here. Just listen to what you receive from the state of Nevada. You'll be getting a lot of stuff from at least two parties. You may just want to toss that stuff. It's a big waste of money a lot of times. But that's me. But we know what we should do. We'll be reading about it in the newspaper also. And anything else that I failed? We've got a half a minute.
No, I think we're going to talk a little bit about voter registration.
Okay. And what about the
If you
vote? Oh,
want.
the voter registration. When is that?
Well, the close of registration for anybody to walk in or mail in a registration is October 6th.
Yes.
But then you may register to vote online from October 7th to October 15th through the Secretary of State's website. And then, of course, 16th through the 29th, you can, that's what I just said, sorry, 16th through the 29th, online registration as well. But there is same-day registration. So anybody can appear on election day or during early voting and register to vote in person. And what happens with those individuals, they'll be given what's called a provisional ballot, which means it will not be counted until it is vetted through the Secretary of State's office that that person is not registered or voted anywhere else in the state. So it's like a temporary on-hold ballot until that's verified. And one thing about that same-day registration, anybody who chooses to do that must show valid Nevada ID as well as proof of residency. If you can't provide that, then unfortunately your vote won't count.
Very interesting. I think we've got it all covered now. We're out of time, and thank you for your patience, Sam, and thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you. No, I'll mail mine in, but thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.